Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me. Let's just jump on the thing. 1 second. How's everyone doing? Let us know where you're all from. Live now, here we are. Oh, does it sound like it's a second. That's better. Can you hear me now, guys? That's much better, yes. Always have dramas, don't we? Technology. Okay. Welcome to another live stream here in the GFS gallery. My name's George and I'm very excited to be here with you all. A very special Q&A session today. I'm going to dive straight into some Q&As. As always, I went onto my Instagram this morning and gave you guys the opportunity to ask some questions there. I've got 6 questions. There were some really, really great questions today. So it was really tricky to pick out the best ones. That'll get the ball rolling and then there'll be opportunities for more questions later on in the stream. We'll run for about an hour or so and we'll do that little kind of exciting thing at the end where if I hit a certain amount of likes, then I'll extend it for another 10 minutes or so. So hope you enjoy it, guys. Chat amongst yourselves. If there are more experienced people on the stream, which there normally are, and you want some pertinent questions being answered, then I'll ask them in the live chat and then hopefully the more experienced folk can answer you there. And yeah, just use this opportunity as a community hangout, a great opportunity to engage with you all, fellow aquascapers, fellow hobbyists from all over the world. Let us know where you're from and let us know what's going on in your current kind of situation. I'm going to address that in one of the questions in a minute. Tommy's barking. We've got the big bifold doors open leading into the back garden because it's such a warm day here in the sunny UK, so very nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump on to the questions from the Instagram, and I've got them right here. And thank you, just a quick thank you to my moderators. I see Candy's on the stream right away. Thank you, Candy. Appreciate you being here. And so, John Starkey's here. I need to catch up with John, actually. South Africa, we've got Singapore, Austria, Maryland. Yay, loads of people. Really good to see you guys. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the Q&A from Instagram. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I do post on there most days, and it is a bit of a kind of an idea of what's going on in my aquascaping world every day on a day-to-day kind of basis. So follow me over there. And I do post stories quite frequently, and every Sunday morning at the moment I am posting a story where you can physically type in a question, and then depending on how good the question is, I'll answer it on the stream. So make sure you follow me on Instagram if you don't already. Okay, so first question is from Noob Dude Scapo. Hello, mate. Frequent commentator on my channel, so appreciate that, mate. How have you and your family coped with lockdown? So it's a good question. That's why I've kind of picked it. I wouldn't say we've really had to cope with it. Cope sounds like it's been really horrible and you've had to kind of deal with it. We've kind of just adapted. We're very fortunate in that Emma and my wife and I both can work from home. I do a lot of work outside of home usually, but thankfully I work with brands that I've been able to work from home no problem, and obviously being a YouTube creator I can create content from home as well. So from that perspective nothing has massively changed. Emma, she works for a bank basically, and she can work from home remotely, and the boys, my 2 stepsons, they've been sent homework via the internet, etc. We've kind of structured our days accordingly. We've had to be quite adaptable. With us all being at home at the same time, it's a little bit different. But we're very, fortunate to have, enough space for us both to work. Emma and I have set up kind of areas in the home where we both kind of work separately, so we're not treading on each other's toes. But I have to say, in terms of the family unit, it's actually kind of brought us closer together. We're obviously spending more time with each other, but, spending more quality time. We're eating more meals together. We're making a real effort to have a good sort of evening family meal. We'll play kind of board games or card games, etc. together, which we never normally did. And it's actually been really good. We've really enjoyed it, I think. And it's not been as hard as I thought it would be. I think when the lockdown first came about, it was a lot of anxiety about, the whole health situation and how it's going to affect incomes. And obviously I really kind of have empathy for guys and girls that their income may have suffered considerably, or they've had friends and family that have suffered, from the health consequences of COVID-19. But purely from my perspective, it's been a good opportunity. I've really focused on getting the book finished. I've focused on really working closely with other brands. I've been doing more content for Tropica and Awaze, etc. So, purely, it sounds selfish, but from my perspective, I've quite enjoyed the lockdown. I'm looking forward to having a bit more freedom and travelling again. But we found it relatively easy to cope with, I'd say. And Tommy, our dog, has loved it because everyone's been at home the whole time. So he's been, absolutely thriving. So thanks for the question, New Doomscaper. Really good question. And I hope, with that in mind, I am mindful that other people aren't coping so well. They might be in a different circumstance. And, I hope you guys are okay. And I hope if you are a hobbyist and you have an aquarium at home, then at least you can spend more time enjoying that, maybe improving your aquascapes, maintaining it more often, maybe rescaping, maybe spending more time on the internet, learning new skills, learning new stuff. Just try to use this time as an opportunity rather than a time of kind of worry and anxiety. So thank you for that. Great question. Sam, I've lost it. Sam_IX5, what is the hardest challenge in the hobby that you've had to overcome? So I was sat in the garden with my wife earlier, and I was reading through all the Instagram questions, and I said, this is a really tough one. I might just not answer that. And then was like, no, you need to answer that one. It's a really good one. So the hardest challenge is, it sounds really corny, but I think it's just algae. And I think that's probably a big challenge for most people at some point in their aquascaping hobby. So that, in a general term, algae or algae, if you're from the States, has been the hardest challenge. And I still get it now, and I know when I'm going to get it, kind of. I'm so kind of dialed into the aquariums and how they work, and I have a very kind of strict methodology now with any aquascape. I know if I miss a water change, or I don't plant heavily enough from the outset with fast growing plants, if I skip fertilizers too much, if I don't clean the filter enough, all these, if I have too much sunlight coming in, if I accidentally leave the lights on for too long, all these things I know will trigger algae. So that was the biggest challenge, is kind of learning all those things, getting that experience to understand the consequence of these inactions, these kind of periods of neglect or mistakes that would lead to algae. So that was the biggest challenge. And, I had some real bad issues especially with cyanobacteria in the first couple of years of my hobby. For those that don't know, cyanobacteria or blue-green algae or slime algae is, it's actually not an algae, it's actually a photosynthetic bacteria. And it's characterized by like a very kind of distinct blue-green coloration, hence the name. And it smells, it has a really, really distinctive smell. and it spreads really quickly, and it spreads like a slime, and it will quickly cover your plants. And it's normally triggered by a combination of lack of maintenance, too much light, especially hitting the substrate, the glass substrate interface there. Low nitrates will trigger it as well. Not enough healthy plant growth, poor circulation. So all these things will trigger it, and I kept getting it all the time. And it wasn't until, I think circulation was the big thing for me, was upping my circulation levels. That really helped to minimize the occurrence. And, you know, back in the day, when I got it, I just couldn't get rid of it. And I used to have to do complete strip downs and then start again. And I think for anyone with less kind of tenacity or less persistence, they may have just given up on the hobby completely. And that is a real kind of sad story, because, you know, it is quite easily prevented. So that was probably, you know, in a general term, algae was the biggest problem, and in a specific kind of term, I think the cyanobacteria or the blue-green or slime algae was the biggest issue. Thanks for the question, Sam_IX5. Next question is from George George M Main. Where do I see the hobby going in 10 years' time in regards to new technologies and trends? This is a really great question. There's actually a few kind of similar questions posted on Instagram, so this kind of hopefully covers those as well. 10 years' time, I think actually if you just keep an eye on current technologies in general on a kind of global industrial scale, aquariums tend to follow that suit. So in terms of lighting, we had the LED revolution. So first of all, it was you know, kind of fluorescence, and then you know, some higher powered lighting was metal halide, HQL, and then you had LEDs. And LEDs are by now, you know, by far the most popular form of lighting. And I don't think LEDs will go away. I think they'll just become more intelligent, you know, more programmable. I mean, you can get very advanced units now where you can program the spectrum, you can program the photo period, the ramping, etc. But I just think that will become more intuitive and more easily controllable with an app, with AI, and things will just become more user-friendly, I think, and more kind of plug and play. So I think, you know, if you think about technology in a kind of everyday life, everything is becoming more online, more AI, more artificial intelligence, and I think aquariums will go that way. You know, I work closely with Felix Smart, which some of you may have heard of. They're sponsor, and I'm an ambassador for Felix. So, you know, that's a smart aquarium controller, and I think that, you know, that will reflect the advances in technology that are going to happen soon. So you'll be able to plug all of your aquarium equipment into the Felix, and you'll be able to control it all from your phone. And then even more advanced than that, you know, the Felix camera will be able to monitor the livestock in your aquarium, give you live feedback. And even with now image recognition, facial recognition kind of technology, it won't be facial, but it will be kind of fish or even plant recognition. It will be able to tell you, you know, what species that is, if it's looking healthy or not, what you need to do about it, give you alerts if it's looking unhealthy, etc. So that's the kind of direction I think it will be part of the hobby, where it will be relatively, you know, like it is now. Everything is kind of separated, but I think more and more things will become part of an integrated system and become smarter and part of our online digital kind of life. I think that's the way the aquarium hobby is going to go in 10 years or so. In terms of trends, you know, trends you could say, you could apply. Trends is more kind of fashion, and there was another question on Instagram about fashion, etc. And how do I see aquascaping in terms of trends moving forward? So I think aquascaping as a trend will, at the moment, it's really going heavily into diorama style, which is like literally shrinking a complete landscape into the aquarium. So I think that's going to carry on. I think that's really like a novelty factor. A lot of people love. They love to see like a miniature world, and have, you know, as the aquarium owner and aquascaper, you have control, you have the creation of it, and then you have the control through the maintenance of it. You know, I think the kind of what's the word? The attraction of having this shrunken landscape is really, really appealing to a lot of people. So I think the diorama thing is going to carry on for a long time. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just find it a little bit too contrived. And I guess I'm kind of old school. I kind of consider myself as a classically trained aquascaper. I look at books from Amano. You know, I still see him as the ultimate kind of inspiration, the ultimate leader in aquascaping. And I never really steer, at the moment, never really steer far from that kind of ethos. But yeah, I think in terms of trends, it's going to go more and more diorama, more and more complex hardscape layouts. You know, guys are really focusing on creating these underwater worlds even before the plants are added. You know, they're getting really complex pieces of hardscape, gluing them together, spending weeks or months creating this landscape before they've even added any water. And then, you know, the plants and the fish and the shrimp, etc., almost like an afterthought, which is kind of why I'm not so keen. You know, like I said, I'm a bit of a classically kind of trained aquascaper. So who knows though? You know, I am open-minded. I am willing to try new stuff. So, you know, maybe I will try diorama at some point. But at the moment, you know, I mean, this is a good example of a classic kind of nature aquarium, I think. Yeah, and I love it. You know, I really, really love it. Anyway, moving on. Thanks for the question, George. Really, really good, great question. Question number 4, we have life in a cube. And I recommend you check out this Instagram account. So at life in a cube, one word, life in a cube. No underscores or anything, just life in a cube. Really impressive Instagram account. Not many followers at the moment, but a very, very distinct style. And you know what I mean if you do check out that account. What sparked your passion for aquascaping? Absolutely, it was the first ever aquascaping book I got. I'll show you again. Those that watched the live stream last week will know what I'm going to pull out now. Nature Aquarium World Book 1. I got given this, I think, in it came out in, I think, 94. I was given it in 2004. And as soon as I opened it, it blew my mind. And everything about nature and aquariums and being outside, but having, you know, this beautiful fish tank, it all came together with Amano's work. And that, you know, that just sort of really, really clicked with me. And that's what sparked my passion. And that's where I knew I wanted to take my journey with the aquarium hobby, to the point where I got so passionate about it that I started, you know, becoming quite prolific on the forums, and then got spotted by PFK magazine, and then the rest is history. So it was that book really that changed my life. I've done a complete video of me rambling about that book. You know, I've mentioned it so much because it was an inspirational book. And Takashi Amano, for those that don't know, you know, he is the godfather of modern aquascaping. So excuse Tommy if you can hear him barking. Being a little guard dog at the moment. So yeah, that's what sparked my passion for aquascaping, that book. And I'd recommend buying anything by Takashi Amano. Just do any kind of search. If you've not heard of him, then absolutely fill your boots and look into his stuff, because it's absolutely mind-blowing. Just make sure we're still streaming. I am completely on ramble mode right now. Yeah, hit the like button, guys, if you're enjoying it. We'll talk more about that later. Good to see the streams watching. 228 of you watching now, so that's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all watching. Jason Larkham asks, curious to know what my favourite movie or TV series is. So I did ask on Instagram. You don't have to ask an aquascaping related question. I just thought it might be fun for you guys watching that might want to know a little bit about me on a bit more of a personal level. So my favourite movie, that's really hard. I honestly don't have one. There's a few movies that I watch over and over again. Not so much these days, but so from like a comedy perspective, I really like Jim Carrey. I just find his kind of over the top, overacting kind of style really entertaining. Really light-hearted, not too deep, not too kind of thought-provoking, just something to enjoy and laugh at. So Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, that sort of thing. And then on a more deeper level, you know, I like kind of psychological thrillers, that sort of genre, but nothing really springs to mind. I love action films, and one that I do watch a lot is Taken. So that really, I love that film with Liam Neeson. I do love Liam Neeson as an actor. I think he's really great. And I love movies to kind of just escape. Sometimes I like something really kind of deep and dark and thought-provoking, but often I use movies just to like, you know, escape from reality and just become suspended in disbelief and just kind of relax. So I'm not a massive movie buff. I'll tell you what, the last kind of really impactful film that I did see was 1917, and I watched that in an IMAX movie in Denmark. It was in English with my good friend Radu, who works for Tropica. And it was IMAX. So if you don't know what IMAX is, it's this massive screen with like amazing sound system. And there was literally about 15 people in the whole cinema. We had the prime position. And I don't know if you've seen 1917. It's a First World War movie based on a couple of British guys. And it's filmed in the trenches I won't give any spoilers, but it's all filmed in third person in one take. So the camera is following these two guys the whole time, and there's no like cuts. There's no like in the edit. There's no cuts from scene to scene. They're literally following these guys the whole time. And from a cinematic perspective, it was mind-blowing. Just the skill, the atmosphere, it completely captured it. The story was great. And for me, it was particularly hard-hitting because, you know, I've been in conflicts. I was in the military myself. I do suffer still a little bit from PTSD with particular like loud noises. I was hitting a roadside bomb in Afghanistan. So if I ever hear like a really sudden loud noise, like there was just a minute ago, I don't know if you heard it, then I go into a bit of a panic. So I sat next to my friend Radu, and there's literally this World War going, like bangs and flashes and all this going on around me. And I knew I was I knew consciously, I knew kind of cognitively that I was in a cinema in a safe place. But it was really hard work. And I had, you know, when I got out of there, Radu knows my experiences in Afghanistan, and he was like, "I'm really sorry, mate. Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But that was really, you know, it's really quite challenging. But I'm glad I did it. It was actually almost quite cathartic to kind of experience that and get over it and kind of use it as a useful, positive thing. So anyway, I'm rambling again. So anyway, 1917. That was a great film. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. Mad Rakwa asks, my favourite YouTuber. So actually, funnily enough, I don't actually watch much aquarium YouTube content these days. I'm much more of a creator than a consumer. So I watch green aqua videos when I can, Yuri's. I do like Serpa Design as well. Who else do I watch quite frequently? That's probably about it for now in terms of the aquarium world. But my favourite YouTuber is Peter McKinnon. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him. Peter McKinnon. So really well-known YouTuber. He's got 4 or 5 million subscribers now, I think. I started watching him when he had about 100,000 subscribers. And he is just, I'm a really passionate about photography and filmmaking. I'm not excellent at either, but I just love to learn new stuff. And Peter's got this ultimate kind of blend of being entertaining, educational and inspiring as well. And he's got such a great down-to-earth personality despite his success. His actual production value, his skill as a filmmaker and a photographer and all the rest of it is just on another level. You know, he's done magic. He's been a magician. He's I can't even remember his past, but he's got such a rich, kind of diverse career up until now as a full-time YouTuber. You know, he's collaborated with massive YouTubers, you know, Casey Neistat, MKHW, whatever his name is, the tech YouTuber. Yeah, Unbox Therapy. You know, he's interviewed some really, really well-known people. But he's just a really good guy. And if you follow him, I'd definitely recommend Peter McKinnon's channel. Really inspirational guy, really fun guy, just the kind of guy that you'd like to go down the pub with and have a drink or a coffee with or whatever. But yeah, love his content and he's my favourite YouTuber. He's probably the only guy that I subscribe to that I get notifications for, and I'll watch them, you know, as soon as I can. Everyone else I don't have notifications and I'll just sort of scroll through and watch the stuff when I have the opportunity. So yeah, he's definitely my favourite YouTuber. Last question from the Instagram story is Aquascaping at home. Are you planning on doing another scape in the 1200 before getting the new Awase Highline 400? So yeah, a bit of a backstory. This is going to be shut down fairly soon. In my last video, I did talk about the micro bubbling and the silicone, so this could potentially leak. I don't work that closely with the Aquascaper brand anymore. I do work closely with Awase, so it makes sense to switch out for something bigger and better. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting an Awase 400 litre, which is about 100 gallons. So it's a little bit bigger than this. It does have a lid, but it's super high quality. And I'm actually looking forward to having a lid because dealing with the evaporation on this, especially in the summer, is a challenge. And, you know, there's always the risk of jumping fish. And there's quite a few advantages to having a lid, although I do love a rimless tank, to be fair. So the question is, am I planning on doing another scape in here before the Awase Highline 400? Well, bit of a kind of story. I am rescaping my Awase Highline 85, which I only escaped a few months ago. But I'm doing a video this week actually for Headspace, which is a meditation app. It's quite well known, you might have heard of it. We're collaborating and they've commissioned me to do a video for the app, and I am doing it in the Awase Highline, the Iwagumi. So I'm going to have to strip that down for the new video because I'm going to escape it from scratch. And then I'm actually going to use some of the plants from here because they're super mature, look really good, and I can create an instant kind of scape in the Highline, the Style Line 85. So this will be partially kind of dismantled for that new video. Now, depending on kind of how many plants I take out and the kind of disruption levels that happen in here will depend on where this goes from there. So one of the things I did think of, and I actually only thought of it today, was changing this into a Malawi cichlid tank. So the Awase Highline 175 is home to my 10 Malawi cichlids, Chindongo Salusi. They're getting really big now, and I think they'd absolutely love it in here. So I could do like a really, really epic rock scape in here. Just I use all the mini landscape rock that's in there, but get some really nice pieces and create one of the best, I would hope to be, one of the best Malawi cichlid scapes that I've ever seen in here, just for the 10 fish. And I think they'd look great. I think they'd love the extra room. Put the new Chihiros lights on it to make them look epic. And I think, yeah, that's what I might do. So let me know in the chat if that's what you're interested in seeing. If I don't do that, then maybe do another nature aquarium. I think it's going to be at least 2 months till I get the Highline 400. So it gives me another, 2 months is plenty of time to grow in a new scape, I would say. So who knows? The options are pretty cool. I'm excited, and I'm excited to have a bit of a choice of what I want to do. So let me know in the chat what you'd like to see. Okay, that's the questions from Instagram done. Thank you so much to everyone that did ask questions. There's some really great questions. Apologies for not answering those that didn't answer, but do make sure you follow me on Instagram, and every Sunday morning I will be doing the same thing. So, this Sunday evening thing or morning, wherever you are in the world, this is going to happen hopefully every Sunday, as long as I can. As long as I'm in the country, in the UK, and I have the ability to live stream, then I will do this every Sunday Q&A thing. So every Sunday morning, go into Instagram. I'll post the opportunity for you to ask your questions. So yeah, excited. Okay, let me know if there's any super chats, guys. The moderators, if you're watching, thank you so much. Let's jump on over. Oh, we've got some super chats already. Guys, if you do want to guarantee your question being answered now, drop me a super chat. It will ping up on my stream here on my computer, and I will answer your question as priority. And then failing that, I'll just go through, and what I see pops out, I'll answer your questions. So Mark Dorr, thank you so much, Mark. Weekly pocket money, good luck in the IOPLC, mate. Thank you so much. Mark did actually ask a really good question. I just remembered on Instagram. Basically, I'll summarise it because it was a little bit complex. He was basically asking, would I rather be someone that's really skilled at growing plants, or someone that's really skilled at aquascaping in terms of like the artistry? So that was a really great question. So would you rather, be skilled at growing healthy plants, or would you rather be skilled at positioning them to look good? So I would think, if as a beginner, I would actually rather, I think I'd rather be good at aquascaping first and then growing plants, because I think to be skilled creatively kind of comes intuitively. It's more of a natural ability, and then you can always learn the techniques of how to grow plants, because it is very kind of methodology. It is very kind of methodology. Oh, I don't know what the word is. You can follow a methodology, and then you can kind of almost guarantee success. Whereas with the creation side of things, it isn't so easy to kind of follow a step by step. So hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Anyway, Guppy Central. Will there be an audio book coming out later? I don't know, but I would like to think so. It's all down to the publisher. So Skyhorse Publishing, I kind of own the book. I'm the author, obviously, but where the marketing goes and that kind of decision making is all down to them. But I guess if it sells really well in terms of the hardback or the ebook, the Kindle version, I would guess they would like to go down the audiobook route. I would love to read it. I would love to do the audiobook for it. I think that'd be a massive honour. So hopefully, but I can't guarantee that, and I can't give you a time scale, I'm afraid. So we've got a couple more super chats. Thank you so much. Jessica Ann, can you speak about common mistakes a beginner might make when setting up a CO2 system for the first time? Yes. So absolutely, it's a great thing to get CO2. So that's really good. Beginner mistakes, things to watch out for. Make sure you buy hopefully a high quality system to start with. Hopefully it'll have a dual stage regulator or a really high quality regulator. The regulator is like the most important part of the system. It's the most complex part, and it's the most kind of important part in terms of safety, because the pressurized cylinder has a super high level of, high pressure of CO2 gas, which is potentially lethal. So it's really important to have a high quality regulator. So a beginner mistake would be to buy the cheapest that you can, or second hand. Try to invest in a really good quality regulator. And then just be careful when you're actually adding the CO2 to start with. So it's always best to add a little bit to, not, too little rather than too much. Too much is going to kill your livestock. The worst that can happen by adding too little is that you'll get algae, and algae is not going to kill anything. So they're probably the two biggest things to look out for. But get a good regulator and don't add too much to start with. Once you've got kind of everything running as you'd like to, just be mindful of the actual level of CO2 that you're running and try to keep it consistent. Buy a good diffuser so the CO2 is getting all around your aquarium effectively. So there's some things to think about. I have got a couple of videos on CO2 on my channel, so check those out. And in my book, which is available for pre-order right now on Amazon, there is a huge chapter on CO2. I'll go into quite a lot of detail on how to choose your CO2 system and how to test your CO2, etc. So do consider getting that. HTX Aquatics, love your videos, George. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Will you be having any book signing events in the US soon? Maybe Houston, Texas. Well, I've got some great news for you. HTX Aquatics, I am planning on visiting Aquarium Design Group at some point. I will be doing a book signing there and hopefully a combined workshop with the Sepske brothers. So hopefully I'll see you there, mate. And thank you so much for the super chat. Omo Ajayi, $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. How do you prolong your Tropica substrate life, nutrient capsules? Any plans for immersed plant growth? PS, you might like Tropic Tank on YouTube. Thank you so much. I have heard of Tropic Tank. Yeah, some epic content. Really, really skilled filmmaker, cinematography, etc. So yeah, I do know Tropic Tank. Yeah, Tropica substrate life. Yeah, definitely nutrient capsules will work. Nutrition capsules, and also just add liquid fertilizer. So the more liquid fertilizer you use, the more the plants are going to take in nutrients through their leaves and less through their roots. So it's your substrate's going to last longer, basically. And do I have any plans for immersed plant growth? Not immediately, but I'm very mindful. It's something I need to look into. It's becoming much more trendy, much more popular in the hobby. Lots of more terrarium, vivarium, paludarium style things being more available and more popular. So definitely something I'm going to look into, but nothing in the near future right now. I'm definitely all about underwater at the moment. Thank you so much for the super chats. Okay, I'm just going to look at some other questions now. Here we go. Oh, super chat from earlier. Thank you, Candy. Rollin Falks, $5. I appreciate your insight and videos. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Rollin, really appreciate it. Seb Butcher, $4.99 super chat. How do I best prepare plants and wood that have a small amount of BBA, which is black beard algae, and thread algae on them for a rescape? Okay, that's a good question. For the wood, I would just take it out of the aquarium and give it a really, really good scrub with a toothbrush or a really kind of stiff brush, just to clear that top layer of wood. It will if it's been in the water for any length of time, that kind of outer layer will almost completely scrub off if you scrub it hard enough, and that will hopefully destroy all of the algae. The plants is a little bit more delicate, so you can, what I recommend using is hydrogen peroxide, which is relatively safe. You can use it actually in the aquarium. Just apply it directly to the algae using a pipette. Use like a 3% strength solution. You can buy it online. You could use glutaraldehyde or liquid carbon as it's marketed, or liquid CO2. Not a big fan of this. It is a dangerous chemical, probably more dangerous than hydrogen peroxide. But you can do the spot dosing of that as well. But yeah, look into that. Just Google spot dosing BBA on plants. And for the hardscape, just give it a good brush. That would be my best advice for you, Seb. And thank you so much for the generous super chat. New Mexico Aquatics, Little Bobby, my good friend. Should my wife pre-order your book now for my birthday or wait to get the book for me for Christmas when you and the book come to the US later this year or next, Little Bobby? That's a really good question. I'll tell you what, why don't you get a book now, and then when I see you, I'll give you a book and I'll sign it for you. So get the book now, and then when I do see you, I'll give you a signed copy face to face. And I really look forward to meeting you and your wife. So yeah, can't wait to see you, mate. Yeah. Okay. Josh ATX, my favourite ever super chatter. He just drops these super chats randomly and says, "Hey George, thank you so much. That's really generous." Candy's done a link to pre-order my book. Thank you so much, Candy. I really appreciate that. MH Aquatics, this is a good one. Have you ever considered going on an expedition to find new species of aquarium plants? Absolutely, I'd love to do that. So I have actually gone on I did a little expedition with Chris Lookout. Some of you may know Chris, but well known for his shrimp videos and exploring, and basically he's the shrimp king from Denali, and we actually met up. We've met a few times, well, a dozen or so times now, but we got together in Florida and we went to the Rainbow Springs. We got a little boat and we went out and we went snorkeling, and it was amazing. And he's actually done some proper expeditions with Stefan Hummel, who is basically the plant guy for Denali. And we've talked often about doing a full-on expedition and looking for some brand new plant species. I'd absolutely love to do that. So yeah, it's always been a consideration. I'm also good friends with Ty Streetman, who is down in Brazil. He's doing a master's in ichthyology, so he's studying fish in their natural habitats. So there's opportunity to do some stuff with him. Yeah, so nothing's out of the question. I love traveling and I love exploring. I love nature. I'm not afraid of hard work, getting dirty and hiking all these places and going diving. I'm a qualified sub-aqua diver as well. So yeah, absolutely would love to do that sort of thing. I think I've missed a super chat. Little Bobby, New Mexico, pre-order the book from Amazon, correct, or from your publisher? Yeah, just pre-order it from Amazon. It's at the best at the moment. I think that's the only way you can pre-order it right now. As it's going to come more towards the release date, there'll be more options to purchase it. But if you buy it, the sooner you buy it now, pre-order it, the cheaper it's going to be from Amazon. I was a bit reluctant to promote Amazon so much. You know, it is potentially taking business away from small businesses. But, you know, as someone that's self-employed, someone that's put a lot of hard work into this book, you know, any kind of revenue stream, any opportunity that's going to get the book spread as far and wide as I can is obviously helpful to me. And Amazon is, you know, it's got such a good logistical network. You're going to be guaranteed to get it as soon as it comes out. So there's lots of pluses to it. But what I will say is, you know, very, very happy, and I will be supporting the smaller retailers nearer the time, put them in touch with wholesalers so they can buy bulk copies of the book and then sell them in their store as well. So those independent retailers that are watching right now, you know, I will be helping to support you guys as well. Hopefully we can work together, do a workshop. You know, I do really want to do like a world tour, visit as many decent aquascaping stores around the world as I can, take loads of copies of the book with me, or get the store to buy a load of books before I arrive, and then we can do a book signing in conjunction with a workshop as well. So everyone's a winner. C Math, $4.99 super chat, thank you so much. How's it going, buddy? Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Loving the English weather right now. So a tank has inert gravel. What's the best way to get best growth of plants assume CO2 and good light, how to add substrate. Yeah, if you've got an inert gravel, you know, you're going to need, the thing is with an inert gravel, it's got no nutrients in there. So yeah, absolutely you need light and CO2, but the plants also need food from fertilizers. So you can put fertilizers in with root capsules, which will target feed the plant roots, or you can add, and absolutely recommend adding, a decent comprehensive liquid fertilizer such as Tropica Specialized Nutrition or, excuse me, Tropica Premium Nutrition. How to add substrate. I'm not sure what you mean there, but just nutrition capsules would be the best thing. Unless you wanted to completely strip out your substrate and then put a new soil in there. If you want to add a completely new soil substrate to an established system, that's actually quite a tricky task. It's almost worth completely starting from scratch. Put all your fish into a quarantine aquarium or a massive bucket with a filter and heater in there, a mature filter, and then just do your tank from scratch, put the soil in there, put all your plants in there, do plenty of water changes, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, loads of questions, guys. I'm really... Okay, sorry, I missed the super chat. The Void Sailor, $5 super chat, thank you. What are your thoughts on under gravel filters in planted tanks? Are they possible in setups that have dirt or sand? Are they practical? Quick answer, I'd avoid them if I were you. The nature of an under gravel filter means the water kind of flows over the roots, and that actually isn't great for the roots. The roots are quite delicate. They like quite a stable kind of, they don't like a lot of circulation over them. They need an anaerobic, they need a combination of anaerobic and aerobic bacteria to convert the nutrients for them to use. And the danger of an under gravel filter is you have too much aerobic bacteria. So that's the reason we don't really use under gravel filters. So I'd avoid them completely. Yeah, that's the easy answer for that. Guppy Central, I've pre-ordered the Kindle version of my book. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go on to some more questions. Mito Joe 60, is the Evolution Aqua now not recommended as micro bubbles as now Awase is? No, if you watched my previous video, please watch the latest video I uploaded on my channel, not a live stream, an actual fully produced video. I think I uploaded it on Thursday, so 3 days ago. I explained fully on why this has micro bubbles. This actual tank is the first ever produced Aquascape aquarium. It's actually a pre-production prototype model, and it uses a different type of silicon to the now production model. Consequently, this has micro bubbles. I'm not saying the Aquascape tanks you're not going to get micro bubbles. They're all flawless. They're excellent aquariums. I just happen now to have a deal. You know, I'm contracted with Awase. I am an ambassador. You know, so they support me. I'm self-employed. So, and I love their aquariums. So I'm going to talk about those. I'm going to use them in my aquarium gallery. This has served its purpose. It's been a beautiful tank. I've loved it so much. It's now 4 years old. It's suffering from the micro bubbles. It's got loads of scratches in it. I'm fed up with all the evaporation of a large open top tank. You know, this is 4 feet by 2 feet, so it's a massive footprint, and I'm ready for a change. So nothing against Evolution Aqua, nothing against the Aquascape tanks, but it's time for a change, and it's time to switch up, you know, to the Awase Highline 400. Yeah, EA Aquascape tanks are excellent. And I recommend them, and I recommend them to my clients. You know, before the lockdown, I was scaping, you know, two Aquascape tanks a month for private clients. I'm still in touch with them, you know, from years ago. against them. It's just my personal circumstances, like I just explained. This is a good question. Muhammad Rafe, how to get plant pearling? Basically, you need strong lighting, CO2 injection, good fertilizers, and a lot of plants, you know, and fast growing plants. The faster growing the plant, the more it's going to pearl. So those are the things that you need. You know, you need a certain amount of oxygen in the aquarium. The plants all need to be photosynthesizing enough to saturate the water with enough oxygen. So when the plants are producing even more oxygen, physically the oxygen has nowhere to be dissolved into the water. So it produces a physical, you know, bubble because it can't be dissolved into the water anymore. So that's what you're aiming for. You're aiming for like a super saturated environment of oxygen. So loads of plant growth, which is been triggered by lots of light, lots of CO2 and lots of appropriate nutrients and circulation. This is a good one again from MH Aquatics. What type of discus I'm going to add? Yeah, so if you didn't know already, for those that follow me on the streams, I am going to be upgrading this to a Highline. I was a Highline 400. I am going to be putting discus in there, and there will be Stenker discus. So if you had never heard of Stenker, it's a German discus breeder, and they are amazing fish. Beautiful, very, very hardy, and they actually thrive in harder water. So they've been captively bred. They've been bred, you know, over the generations to really be hardy and specifically ideal for harder water. So I have actually had them before. I don't know if you can see this picture here. That's a Stenker discus. That's one of my discus from a couple of years ago. And I've got this picture here as well. Let's get that nice and close for you. So this is the, I had 7 of these in my ADA 120p, and I had 7 fish, and I had 3 pairs, which are all spawning with almost every water change. And I actually got some fry as well, but I didn't have another setup to kind of keep the fry going. But I know that these fish are absolutely going to love my water here, and I'm really excited to get them. I'm not sure what colour I'm going to get for. I do have a thing for the blue discus. So yeah, maybe get some cobalt blue discus or the blue diamonds maybe. So yeah, big Amazon swords. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be really good. Okay, Mark Vercruci. Change water with RO water immediately in the aquarium, then add city water until certain TDS. Is this okay? It's hard to say. What you don't want to be doing is massively changing the water chemistry over a very, very short period of time, because it's going to stress the fish. You can do what you said as long as it's over like an hour or a couple of hour period. If you're doing it over a couple of minutes, it's really going to stress the fish out. So regardless of what you're doing technique-wise, just make sure if you're changing any water parameters, do them over a period of time. So what I do now in this tank, I'm not using RO water, but the principle remains. I'm actually doing a running water change. So as I'm siphoning water out, I'm filling up at the same time. And because of that, any kind of changing water chemistry is happening gradually, because the water's getting siphoned out relatively slowly and it's getting filled in relatively slowly. So it's not like immediately taking out 50% of the water and then immediately putting in 50% water of a new water chemistry, which is going to stress the fish. So whatever you do, just try to do it as gradually as practical, basically. Hopefully that answers your question, and thanks for the super chat, mate. I really appreciate it. Elijah Gulami, I placed Bacopa Kalyan in my tank and the leaves died off. I am getting new growth at the very top, but at the bottom is empty. How do I help it grow and make it nice again? Okay, thanks for the super chat, Elijah. I really appreciate it. What could be happening is you might have bought an immersed plant, so it's been growing out of water, and then it's struggled to adapt to its underwater growth form, and that's why you're getting the new growth is healthy because that's adapted to the submersed growth, and then the bottom is just the old out of water growth. So what I would actually do, assuming that all your water conditions are correct, so you've got decent light, good nutrients, if you're using CO2, etc., good substrate, good fertilizers. Trim the growth portion, the healthy portion of the plant, and then plant that, and then that's going to grow into a nice new healthy stem. Depending on how the lower part does, it might recover. If it starts dying off completely, then just get rid of it, and then just rely on that new growth. And then once the new growth carries on, you can trim that and then replant that, and then you can just propagate it that way. Oh, another super chat I missed. Felix Davies, £2 super chat. How do I feel about no filter, no CO2 tanks? Well, I've actually got one on my desk. It's the Tropica Aquacube. I like them, but they're very specific. They're very kind of limiting. You can't really put any fish in there, in my view. I mean, you can do, but you're on a bit of a knife edge. You have to rely on the plant growth for nutrient export and oxygen production. So definitely something I wouldn't recommend for beginners. I would only use like as a planted tank, maybe some shrimp. I've got a couple of shrimp, two terry shrimp and a nearite snail in there, and they're doing really well. So I think they're okay. I don't necessarily recommend them to beginners because the temptation is for a beginner is to add fish, and it's a little bit unfair for that. But yeah, mixed feelings really. I understand the popularity and the potential for, they're going to be attractive because it's cheaper, and people, just by the nature, people don't want to spend any money unless they have to. But we're looking after living things. We're looking after God, I say God's creatures. We're looking after living creatures, living entities, and I think we have, as a human, we have a responsibility to care for them. If we're kind of trapping them in an aquarium and we're taking them out, well, I mean, we're not even taking them out a lot of the time out of their natural habitat, but I think there's something it's quite hard to put into words, but we have a responsibility to care for these things, and arguably by putting them in a no filter, what was the other question? No filter, no CO2, was it? No filter, no water change, whatever it was. No filter, no CO2. Whatever path you take with your aquarium keeping, whatever path you take with your hobby, just make sure that the animals that you're keeping, their welfare is paramount. So in here, high-tech planted tanks are kind of a little bit, I would say, contentious because there's loads of light, you've got CO2 injection. Fish don't like CO2 because it's toxic, but we're keeping it at a safe level, and that's really important. You need to offset that with good circulation levels, so you're getting good oxygen levels. The more CO2 you have, the more oxygen you need, basically. So more surface agitation, more circulation, more plant growth, and then the fish are going to thrive. So you can have more CO2, and that's not going to be a problem. You wouldn't put CO2 in a tank with no plants. It'd just be nonsensical. That's an extreme example. But, I don't want to go into details and specifics, but just care for the livestock that you're keeping. Do your research, find out what water chemistry they prefer, find out if they like shaded areas. There might be cryptic fish, like chocolate gouramis, or I don't know, really sensitive soft water carnivorous fish. You're not going to put them in a fast flowing shallow tank with loads of lights and feed them dry foods. You know, just do your research, make sure the water chemistry is appropriate, and just look after them as best you can, because, you know, as humans we have that responsibility. And on a kind of, I don't want to get political or too deep, but let's just look at what we're doing to the planet. You know, deforestation, you know, in all this, you know, global warming, climate change. You know, just have a bit of kind of, just think about it. Just think about what you're doing and just look after stuff a bit more. Look after living things. You know, I could go on about this for a topic for another video maybe. Ryan Mesh, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. I'm wanting to make use of my 2.5 gallon tank. It was my first one before I learned fish. Need more space. Any suggestions for plant fish life? 2.5 gallons. What's that? And I have to convert that to litres. It's about 10 litres. You can keep shrimp. You can keep shrimp and snails. I would definitely consider getting a little filter. Maybe a tiny little hang on the back filter. Plants, just go for really, really small kind of textured plants, easy plants. I guess you're from the States because you've done a US super chat. So floating plants would be good. And any kind of floating plant, that's going to do well with any kind of light source. If you're keeping shrimp, I don't know if you've got what substrate you've got. Maybe small crypts would be good. You don't need CO2 or much light for small crypts. Starogine is an easy plant. Halanthia tenellum, if you can get that, that's really easy. Marsilea hirsuta. Go on the Tropica website, look at all the easy plants. Hopefully your local stockist can source some Tropica plants for you. Okay guys, I have been going for an hour. We've got 168 likes. We've got 4 dislikes. Again, my family must hate me. I think they're jealous because I'm using all the bandwidth on the live stream. If we can get to this is a big ask. If we can get to 200 likes in the 5 minutes, I'll stay on another 10 minutes. So I'll answer a few more Q&As, guys. Jimmy S. £2 super chat. Thank you, Jimmy. How early in an aquarium's life do I add ferts? It depends really on the aquarium and the system that you're running. You can add them straight away if if you're buying healthy plants to start with and you've got a good system. Those plants are going to grow straight away. They're going to want to grow straight away. So it's beneficial to add fertilizers straight away. But if you've got like a soil substrate, that will contain a lot of nutrients. So you could wait a week or 2 before you start adding fertilizers. What can happen is the danger is if you have not very many plants in your aquarium to start with, and those plants aren't particularly healthy. If you add too much fertilizers, it can trigger algae because those plants don't have the ability to use those liquid fertilizers. So, you know, you maybe want to wait a week or so. I tend to add them straight away, especially with tissue culture plants, the Tropica 1-2 grow in particular. They're baby plants and they need food straight away, just like babies, any animal babies as well. So add them right away. But it's not an exact science. So it's a tricky question to answer yes or no on that one. Rollin Falks, what else eats BBA other than Siamese algae eaters? Red, I don't know if you can get them anymore, but back in the day, you used to be able to get red nose shrimp. They eat BBA, but they're quite delicate. My big advice, my top advice for BBA, any algae, is not to rely on algae eaters, because the reason you've got the BBA is because there's something else wrong. It's not because you've not got enough algae eaters, if that makes sense. It's because there's something wrong with the aquarium in terms of you've not got enough plant growth. The plant growth's not healthy enough. You're not doing enough maintenance. There's a buildup of waste organics. There's not enough circulation. Your filter media is too dirty. You're overfeeding your fish. You've got too many fish. Any of the above, any combination of the above, that is what's leading to the BBA. Just by adding more algae eaters isn't going to give you a long-term solution. So look at the cause of the BBA, address that, and then hopefully the BBA is actually going to disappear on its own course. There's virtually no BBA in here anymore. And that's because I've just been focusing so hard on growing as healthy plants as I can, plenty of water changes, plenty of keeping the filter clean, keeping on top of everything. And actually the little bit of background BBA I did have has just died off on its own accord. So there's a lesson for you, hopefully. Thank you for the super chat. Robert Ging. Oh, we've got the 200 likes now, so I'll stay on for another few minutes or so. Thank you so much. How do I dechlorinate my water before doing a water change, and how long do I wait to add it? So actually, I've just started adding the dechlorinator right at the end of the water change. Now, this doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. It depends on how much chlorine your water has. I think generally speaking, in the US, you guys have a lot higher level of chlorine than we do in the UK. So I can't speak for you specifically, but what I do in my own aquariums is now I do the running water change. So I'm siphoning out water into my garden to feed my plants in the garden, and I'm topping up directly from my tap. I'm pumping the water in directly, and then once that water change is done, I'm doing the maintenance while that's happening. So water's going out, water's going in, cleaning the glass, trimming the plants, hoovering the plant, hoovering all down here, giving a good old substrate maintenance. So I'll do that for half an hour or so. It's probably done at least to 50% water change, probably more like 80% depending on how long I've been doing this process for. And then right at the end, I'll add a spoonful of the Fritz Aquatics ACCR, which is a dry powder dechlorinator. And that's it. I add it right at the end. Never seen any fish being harmed, but I can't guarantee that's going to work for you in the States if you've got a high level of chlorine. So I would add the dechlorinator as the water's going in. That's the safest way, I would suggest. I've got a super chat from Kathy. Thank you very much, Kathy Shelley. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, another 5 minutes or so. Got one from my good friend Dean Robinson. George, AD asked earlier if I'm happy with my ALPLC pick you sent in. I am also interested to hear. Shall I show you? This is really naughty. I might get my thing banned for this, but it's not you're not seeing the final image because I'm showing it via live stream. But hang on, I'll show you I'll just show you the screenshot here. And I don't know how it's going to look on the screen, but let's have a look. There we go. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. So yeah, that was interesting. That did So yeah, I did a photo shoot this morning before the lights and the CO2 came on for too long because I didn't want the plants to producing loads of oxygen bubbles. So I had my 1200 Twin Star SA and then the Twin Star 600 running front to back. Took the filter pipes out, put a hairdryer just up here, and then got the fish to magically swim in a nice shoal. And then took a few photos, shot in RAW using my digital SLR camera. Shooting in RAW gives you more control over the image. It's a bigger image size, so there's a lot more data. in the image, so it's basically a better quality image. And yeah, sent it off to the IOPLC. Taylor Dale made it at the end. Love your work, George. Thank you very much, guys. George Candy says, cycling aquascape with Redmore root, which has massive fungal bloom that has spread to hair grass. Can't siphon the grass without rooting it. Seems to be killing the grass. What to do? Well, that's really tricky. If it's fungal bloom, I'm really surprised it's actually spread to the hair grass. I'd just be really kind of... Oh, have I frozen? No, we're good. Don't know if the picture quality is any good, guys. It's all pixelated here. Fungal bloom on your wood should be easily removable with a toothbrush, and then siphon it out from the wood. If it's on your hair grass, then just trim. If it's growing in a healthy environment, by trimming the hair grass, it's going to generate new growth anyway. So try not to worry about too much. But you might even be able to comb the fungus away with the toothbrush as well. So just try to manually remove as much as you can and just siphon it out as you're kind of combing it away. Okay, Kathy, Shelley, yeah, thanks for the question. Sorry I didn't ask you earlier. Okay guys, I'm going to say cheerio in a minute because it is 12 minutes past 8. I've got a hot date with my beautiful wife. I think we're going to watch a Great British Showing Bee or something similar. And I'll just have a little quick ramble before I go. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I am going to be doing these live streams for the foreseeable future every Sunday while I'm at home. I really love this. I look forward to it every Sunday. I think as we do this every week, it'll evolve and we'll kind of refine the question answering process. I do appreciate a lot of you are asking questions that are not getting answered. But I am encouraging the more experienced guys on the chat to hopefully answer you. I do really encourage you to follow me on Instagram, where you'll have the opportunity to ask questions on there. And, you know, I don't want to plug the book too much, but the book's coming out soon. You can pre-order it on Amazon. The vast majority of questions that you guys are answering, you know, are answered in the book. So that's why I wrote it. One of the main reasons I wrote it, to, you know, hopefully make people's aquascaping journey a bit simpler, answer all these questions, and, you know, enrich people's lives with aquascaping. That's what this channel is about. That's what my purpose is here, to hopefully help you guys create more beautiful aquariums, enjoy your aquascapes even more, learn about growing plants, learn how to keep algae away, all the good stuff that I'm, you know, all about. So I hope you've enjoyed this stream, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope everyone's safe and well in this current environment. You know, we're still kind of suffering at the moment with the global pandemic. It seems to be easing a little bit. I don't know about what it's like with you guys in your countries. In the UK, it seems to be going the right way. I'm still exercising caution. I'm still not traveling. So at the moment, I will hopefully be doing some kind of limited traveling soon. But with that in mind, you know, my income is limited a little bit. So these super chats that you're dropping is really appreciated as well. So, you know, I'm massively grateful for you guys that can do the super chats. Yeah, what else? I just hope you're well. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you're enjoying the aquariums. And I want you to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay safe, keep on scaping. Cheerio. Bye-bye.